came in.
Watch out for the truck or the car crossing the road here. This is Mount Jewett. I never even knew this happened until I was...
oh my God.
Till I got home and looked at the movie, and I thought, holy cow, the guy almost got killed.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
Real dummy.
Yeah,
Carl's
but
ankles
there were no
down,
gates
okay?
down there, were there?
No, not then. Right now either, but I mean,
Well,
there were no
if
gates.
there are gates, they'll drive around the end of the gates anyway and do that. Or even drive right
Yeah.
through the gates. You hear of cases that...
He must have been in a hurry.
So,
Too bad he didn't get creamed. You could have gotten it on
Oh,
Eyewitness
yeah.
Video.
Something to have a movie
that's
shot.
right, yeah.
Eyewitness
The
Video.
car probably would have bounced over and hit mine.
Yeah.
Because my Oldsmobile was parked right there.
In 1990, I began working on what I hoped would be a documentary about Buffalo's railroad history. A history second only to Chicago for its abundance of train activity. Industry, architecture, immigration, and even neighborhoods were all influenced and shaped by the presence of railroad tracks, passenger stations, and servicing facilities in Buffalo, all of which arrived in the city as early as 1832. I quickly realized that a documentary about Buffalo's railroad history needed a ridiculous amount of imagery, both still and moving, to tell the story. Luckily, I had two very good friends who were more than willing to help me find all the images, films, and anything else I needed. John M. Prophet III and Jim Van Brocklin. John certainly needs no introduction if you've been following the Living with Steam podcast, but Jim may be a new cast member to you. He was another major contributor to the Railroad Documentary Project since he was not only a photographer and sound recordist at par with John, but he was also a filmmaker. Beginning in the mid-1950s, Jim took one of several cameras he owned out into the field to capture scenes of many railroads in western New York and southern Ontario, his favorites being the Baltimore and Ohio, the Nickel Plate Road, and the Canadian National. Jim became a member of the Niagara Frontier chapter of the National Railway Historical Society around the same time he started shooting movies, somewhere around 1955. As the length of his tenure increased, Jim realized that other members of the chapter had also been shooting movies, some as early as 1938, the same year the chapter was formed as the Buffalo chapter of the Railroad Enthusiasts by Russ Shapley and John Prophet. As the years passed, sadly, so did many of the chapter's members, who had been part of the organization since the beginning. Photographs and films were left to the chapter to be shared amongst its surviving members to be enjoyed at monthly meetings or special events. What eventually would become a huge collection of priceless films was not organized in any coherent way. Some reels of film were not labeled at all, so there was no way to identify what subject matter was on a film without first threading it into a projector and viewing it. Certainly not a difficult task, but time-consuming nonetheless. But if you're going to have a program featuring the movies of a chapter member who passed away, you can't have people sitting in the audience waiting for you to load, stop, rewind, reload, and play small individual reels of film, many of which were less than 3 minutes in total length. Organizing and cataloging the huge collection of films the chapter had on hand was needed, and this task fell to Jim Van Brocklin when he became the chapter's film custodian. One of the things Jim did was to take the dozens of individual films and splice them together to make single large reels of film footage that could be more easily viewed. When completed, each reel would be roughly 20 to 30 minutes in length, depending on the size of the empty reels Jim used. The mystery of what was on each unidentified reel of film was still there, only now each of these mystery films were spliced together to make a single potpourri of railroad footage. Organized by subject matter? Not even close. But what Jim discovered was these mixtapes of film were very entertaining and got the audience talking out loud, guessing and reminiscing about the footage and where it was shot. Needless to say, these movies became very popular with the chapter. One problem remained. It became more apparent that the subject matter of each section of a film was slowly becoming increasingly more difficult to identify as the years went on. As lifelong members of the NRHS passed away, their knowledge of the footage in these films was inevitably lost with them. And with the introduction of videotapes, those were shown more often than the films, which were simply put away, but kept safe by Jim. In the spring of 1995, over the course of several evenings, Jim brought many of the films from the NRHS collection to my home for he, John Prophet, and myself to watch. What wound up happening was three friends sitting in my living room over bottomless cups of coffee, talking and joking about what we were watching. To me, this was an incredible education, because as I watched John watching the films, he came alive with information about everything we were seeing. He talked as if the footage was shot the day before Jim brought the films to my house. Often, he would sit quietly and just take in the memories as Jim made a comment or two. These gatherings could be hilarious when Jim was around. What you are about to see is the first reel of film Jim brought over for John and I to view. Luckily, both men knew that watching these films wasn't just for our entertainment on an evening in May in 1995. My handwritten note-taking skills are non-existent. Besides that, I wanted to capture every minute of this fellowship simply for prosperity. I never thought I would share the recordings of our visits or use them for anything other than transcribing what was said in my living room. But now that John and Jim are no longer with us, and a whole new generation of rail fans are striving to learn more about railroad history, it's time to watch these films again and listen to the experts as they describe the marvelous scenes unveiling in front of us, when footage of this kind could be captured at any time, anywhere, especially in Buffalo.
I don't recognize this scene.
The passenger cars went out there for service. I don't remember how far they took those from the station. They couldn't have back when there were a lot of
Yeah,
trains.
this is the reel. This is the reel right here.
Yeah. That's in St. Catharines.
There's a CP.
Yeah, there's a
It's a
444
THMB. Yeah.
CP engine
Yep.
in Toronto.
It's pretty giant.
It sure is. Looks like it's another CP.
CN.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
Trolley cars.
Now this is pulling out of the Lehigh.
Lehigh Station. Yep.
There it is, way in the background. Just barely make it out. What's that, Michigan?
I don't know. I forget what Miss Street that
Yeah,
is.
it would have to be. There's
Yeah, I think
Chicago
it was.
Street Tower.
Yeah.
Well, this is on the Erie. We're swinging down off the
Yeah, there's
Lehigh.
a Erie turned off.
Erie-
Lehigh
Erie
on that
train
single
went
track
down there.
connection. We're
So
going
you're on an
up
Erie excursion.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Letchworth.
Mhm.
Oh, that's Portage?
Bridge.
Yeah,
TB
TB
Tower.
Tower.
That was a tower that they had at the east end of the bridge.
The foundation for it's still there.
Must be Erie Berkshire. Boy, they
Yeah.
were great engines.
Yeah. They were the largest Berkshires in the world.
Yeah, I guess so.
Those engines, higher and wider and heavier and more powerful in it than any others. They could be because the Erie had higher and wider clearances.
Mm-hmm. Because of their original 6-foot gauge, right?
Yeah, and they had more space between the two tracks over that double track line, and they could run. Yeah, there were high shipments that could go over the Erie between the east
Because
and the
it-
west that
yeah.
no other railroad could handle.
Oh, Doodlebug.
Yeah, that's what was on our train. They were running doodlebugs then between Buffalo and Hornell. We were riding a regular train.
This is Black Rock.
I guess it is. Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably the train too. On our trip the observation car when we went to Detroit in 1940. Could be.
Were these usually overnight trips, John?
No.
Really?
We only ran one overnight trip. And that was in 1940 when we went to Altoona.
Detroit and back seems a little far, though, doesn't it?
You know, we had a number of hours there. We visited 2-3 engine houses, and we visited the...
Hey, it wasn't a fan trip, boy. They went like 60 or
No,
70
they went
miles an hour.
80 to
80
speak.
maybe,
Later it was
yeah.
85 on the Michigan
So
Central.
yeah, they
In
barreled.
1940 it was 80. It went 80
Yeah.
all the way. Buffalo, yeah.
So you got a passenger train going, boy. If the engineer was
Oh,
good.
we left at what time is number 35? We were about 8:30 in the morning, and we got back. I came back on number 44. That came in about 9:40 p.m. So
Yeah.
It's about
it was
3 hours
about
to get
about
there.
a 13-hour trip. It was several hours layover in Detroit. We went to the Wabash engine house. We went to the Pere Marquette engine house, and then we watched trains for a while outside the
Yeah.
Union Station. We saw them.
What kind of a presence did Pere Marquette have in the Buffalo area?
Just freight trains with 282s. Came.
Where were they? Where was their base of operations out of Buffalo? They didn't run
Well,
past.
see, they ran into they came over the Erie from Suspension Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and they ran into the Erie's yard. I don't think they had any yard of their own.
No, I don't know.
No, they ran into the Erie's East Buffalo yard. The engines would be serviced at the Erie's engine house.
They didn't run passenger into Buffalo, did they?
No. I don't know if they ever did. They didn't any in my time anyway.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. But their trains all went by Niagara Falls and Suspension Bridge.
Yeah,
So
right.
their tracks ended at St. Thomas, and they ran over that track is right on the Michigan
Isn't that the
Central.
Mercury, John?
Yeah, that's the
In
Mercury.
Detroit?
Out of Detroit, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are those Mercury cars that they
Yeah.
converted from standard coaches. Yeah, that was the Mercury.
What made them so different, John? You said from standard coaches. What?
Well, they weren't bought new as new streamlined cars. They rebuilt those from.
Oh.
Their
There's
own
a Pere
chassis.
Marquette Pacific type
Yeah.
engine. These are these trains going out of the Detroit Union Station. Not the Michigan Central, but the Union Station. It was used by all the railroads except the Canadian Pacific and the Michigan Central. Which
There's a whole
used
bunch of guys there.
MC station. The other Union Station was used by the Wabash and the Grand Trunk, and well, I guess the Grand Trunk had their own station. No, this was a Wabash, Pere Marquette, and B&O.
Look how shiny that engine is. Silver
Yeah,
cylinder
those engines are shiny.
covers and
The
stuff.
Pere Marquette engines hauled the B&O trains, and
Yep, there it is. Pere Marquette.
They hauled a B&O train. Then there was a C&O train out of there. One of these is a Sportsman, C&O. That was hauled by Pere Marquette engines. And the B&O Ambassador, that was hauled by PM engines to Toledo.
That's
Detroit
at
to
Arcade.
Toledo.
On the
Somewhere
fencing.
on there, where's that view of the Wabash Atlantic? I think we missed that one.
I don't know.
I saw that before those Pere Marquette engines. The Wabash Detroit Aero with a 442 type engine. That's in there somewhere. All the other trains use PM engines out of there to Toledo.
Are those the same little Baldwins that the ANA uses now?
No, those are
No,
those old.
these were all scrapped in the 1940s, I guess around the end of the war, somewhere around there when they got their diesels. They had three of those. They had two little 260s and one 460.
I could never get my dad to drive back in there so I could get a picture of those things. I would go with him down to Hornell, and we'd drive
Oh,
through
yeah.
Arcade and never stop. Of course, he had a business trip, and then I had no car to get out there, so they were gone, but I wanted to get a black and white picture of them. Never did.
The white flag means it's an extra
Like,
or special
Yeah, special, extra train, yeah.
on the ANA.
Yeah, this was
Shit.
more for show, decoration.
I think so, yeah, right.
Yeah.
They really wouldn't need them on the ANA, but they used them. See, there they are.
It was just a nice touch.
Sure,
there you go,
sure.
nice Penske engine.
Yeah, it's Ebenezer.
Yep.
Yeah, that was Ebenezer.
M1
There's the
going out on
coal
the freight.
tower.
Yeah.
Refrigerator car. Man. Oh.
L1 helper, and this is another one.
Big
I1.
one, I think.
L1 and an
How
I1.
far would those go? All the way to...
To Lime Lake. They had a
That
Y.
they wouldn't,
They
I
had
know
a
they had
Y.
one. I just wondered if
They
this
had a
goes
Y
in-
at Lime Lake, and they turn
Yeah.
around and come back, run forward, coming back to Ebenezer.
Because they really didn't need to push anything from Olean up, did they?
No, coming north.
Wasn't
No,
dense.
the grade was very slight. It was a
Yeah.
slight upgrade from Olean up to, well, all the way up, I guess, to Franklinville, but it was
Yeah.
a very slight grade.
John, how many water towers were on the premises? The Ebenezer property itself. Were
I
there?
don't remember. There were several.
But there was more than
Standpipes.
one, right?
Oh, yes, there were
Okay.
several. There
A
was
lot of
at least
standpipes, but probably only one tower
one,
though.
one tank. You mean the standpipes where the engines would take
No,
water?
the actual big tower.
Oh, I don't know. I think there was only,
Just one,
I don't
perhaps.
Probably only needed one.
Yeah.
if it was
They
big
had pipes
enough.
all over the place. Usually the way
Yeah.
they did it.
Yeah, it shows up in one of the photographs that I have.
Yeah, I don't know. They may have had, some places they'd have 2 or 3 or 4 or smaller tanks
Mhm.
together. They were the smaller wooden tanks. I don't remember now. They had several tanks around, and I don't remember which ones for water. They had big tank, it looked like a water tank just outside the engine house, about in the middle of the engine house, where they had something to do with boiler washing. There's a New York Central 0880 they used on the hump. Sometimes they'd push freights out of the Gardenville branch up onto the main line and push as far as Depew with a Malley.
There's some B&O stuff running up there. Parallel
Yeah.
to the Bessemer.
Yeah.
One engine and one car. That didn't amazing. One of
I
those
think they had 2
210-4s.
cars, didn't they, on the train?
A lot of power for that caboose job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, where was
DM Tower. That's the Lehigh Valley crossing overhead. Yeah, that's what that is. It's DM,
DM
Tower,
Tower?
over on the right. Yeah, right in Buffalo.
It's Arcadia.
Yeah, it's Arcade Niagara. Look at that old little engine. Gee whiz.
Now, those
That's
are
a
old
funny
little engines.
engine.
Those two 260s they had. One was built in 1897, and the other one in 1900. There's a Coudersport and Port
Yeah.
Allegheny
Yeah, look at that.
rail bus. That was their passenger train. And when that was in the shop, they'd run a steam train with a 440 steam engine.
Really?
Yeah. They were running that on
Yeah, there's an Emporium.
at Emporium, yeah.
I got a picture of that engine on the New York Long Branch. It hangs in my dining room.
Yeah, it's the line to Buffalo to the right and the line to Erie going off to the left. There.
What tower is
That's
that?
where JN Tower it was. There's an M1 on the front.
Yeah.
That's
That's a pretty steep grade up there.
Cheating Summit grade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's that Bald Eagle branch, John?
Lock Haven to Tyrone. That way. Yeah, we went over that when we had our Altoona trip in 1940. That was our overnight trip. It was all on regular trains. But we had that open-end inspection car that they gave us.
Oh,
Buffalo
boy,
all the way.
yeah, that was
We
nice.
went all as far west as Crescent, so we ride around the horseshoe curve and go through
This
Gallitzin.
is Lehigh, isn't it? In Rochester?
Yeah, that's that trip we ran. The first trip on the Lehigh. We went from Rochester to Sayre. With a special train.
Oh, look at that. Oh. Their streamliners were really bizarre looking.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Stripes and wild paint.
Yeah, there's some nice colors though, red, black, and white.
And they had at least one engine that was for the Asa Packer. That was orange with white stripes, a real weird,
Yeah.
weird color job. I think that was the one in that.
Could have been. I
Movie
mean,
shot.
I know they had.
Then the others, the John Wilkes engines
Yeah.
and the Black Diamond engines were the red and black white stripes.
It would have been nice to have more footage out of the terminal, though. Those black
Yeah,
and white photographs are something, though. When you see the building come alive.
Yeah, that would be good. I don't have any movie shots taken around this central terminal.
I think that's the advanced December 7th Empire.
Yeah,
The one that's not
it is.
streamlined.
Yeah. Yeah, the next scene should be the new streamlined train with the streamlined Hudson. Yeah.
What time was
Not
Pearl
this
Harbor
one.
bombed? What time of day was it?
Here, 1 something. Sometime in the afternoon, I don't know. It was
So,
it was in the
early in the
afternoon.
morning out there, but
Did the train go by before or after the announcement was made? Hmm.
Oh, the announcement was made. Let's see, was it on the
Here we are
return
here.
trip? Some of us rode it to Rochester and came back on the westbound. I think we heard it on the way back. We were riding in the observation lounge car. It was announced on. They heard it on the radio.
What was the general
Announced.
feeling?
I don't remember. We just heard it and we were busy looking out the windows at the rear end.
Yeah.
Rush
That's,
Shapley, and I forget who else was along.
that's why I asked.
We rode it.
it's- because this was the inaugural
Yeah,
run of
here's
this
the one
train.
with the-
yeah.
With one of the two engine streamlined going and all the new bug cars.
Well, they were-
Oh, that engine was gorgeous. You can get a model of that too. Niagara Hot.
Yeah, in some ways I like those engines better than the two-tone gray for the 20th century.
For the century? Yeah.
I think the Empire engine was more attractive.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, the black and silver?
They were all
Black and silver.
neat because they're steam.
And then that big New York Central System plaque on the
Yeah.
front was bright red background. And the others were blue on the Century engine, blue background.
Oh, bright red?
Bright red.
It
The
was?
ones on the front, same colors on their diesels, the ones that they painted on the noses of all their freight and passenger diesels, they used
Here's
bright
the
red.
second section looks like. Regular
Yeah.
cars, but they had the streamlined locomotive in it. How far did the Empire go?
Well,
Did it go to Cleveland and stop?
And,
or- and
Yeah,
change?
and that's as far as it went on the main line. It divided in Buffalo. They
Yeah.
had cars for Detroit and they had cars for Cleveland. It split in Buffalo.
But it stopped
It started
both
Cleveland,
places.
terminated in Cleveland
Yeah.
and terminated in Detroit, the other part of it.
does it still do that now? Does it still go as far as Cleveland?
No, there's nothing that goes just as far as Cleveland. There's one train a day, the Lakeshore Limited, that goes
Right,
from,
and that goes to
all the
Chicago.
way to Chicago, New York
So-
to Chicago with cars from Boston.
So where does the Empire go now? From New York to Niagara Falls?
Niagara Falls, I guess, would be, yeah.
Oh, jeepers. But then
New
the
York to
Niagara
Niagara
Rainbow does the
Falls.
same thing.
Yeah. And what's the one that goes to, through to Toronto? What's the name
Black,
of that one?
They still call it the
Maple Leaf.
The
Maple
Maple
Leaf.
Leaf, yeah. The others terminate in the falls. Yeah, I guess one is still called the Niagara Rainbow, is it,
Maple
or is
Leaf
it?
used to run in the Lehigh Valley.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So these extra trains that Amtrak added, what do they just double up the service from Niagara Falls to Buffalo? Or Niagara Falls to New York?
I guess.
They add, 6 more trains? Something like that?
I don't know what names they have. Oh, they added one more, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it's just.
I don't know what names they have, because they got some names for trains that terminate in Albany and trains that terminate in Syracuse, from New York to Syracuse. I don't pay any attention. I have a timetable from last summer, I think. I forget they changed the names around so much, I don't really.
Yeah, I don't even bother
I know.
either. I haven't
But
even...
there is one, I guess they still call it the Empire State Express, don't they?
Yeah.
They use that name for one of those trains.
Yeah. I think that train runs from New York to Niagara Falls, but then they also have another train, the
Oh,
Niagara
yes.
Rainbow, that does the same thing.
Yes, right, yeah. Now, the only one that goes any farther than Niagara Falls is the Toronto train,
And the Lakeshore Limited.
and the Lakeshore Limited, which doesn't go to the falls. Turns off and goes west.
We could show this is the Buffalo Lake Erie Traction Company going along the lakeshore. Well, it's London and Port Stanley. You wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't know the difference.
No.
I knew that. You told me that before. He just wanted some trolley stuff. I'm like, here. There we go.
Yeah, this was one of our trips, I guess, to Arcade, to ride the A&A. That's the Central
16.
Number 16.
Holy cow. Man,
There were
that's a
only
low
two
number.
K4 numbered lower than that.
Yeah.
Number 12, was a K4, and number 8 was the lowest K4.
Were there any occasions where the K4 would have to be used?
That's Counter Sport in Port Allegheny here.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the 440 engine we had on a special in 1940.
Yeah.
John, were there any occasions where a K4 would have to be used for freight? I know they were used for...
Once in a while, I've seen a picture of one. I never actually saw one on a freight train, but I've seen a picture of one somewhere west of Pittsburgh.
Lehigh Valley. Are we gonna make it? Ooh, I don't know. This is the last reel. It'd be so nice to be able to fit it all on one without having to put another tape in.
It's not Jewett, PRP.
Yeah, there's one of those 2662s.
It looked awfully close. I wonder if you might save some of that by, redoing it.
What's that, Jim?
Well, the locomotive looked so big, and I wonder if it was that big when it was actually
But
projected.
in other words, I'm zooming in too far.
Yeah, you chopped off the bottom of the locomotive, and it may
Could be.
be there.
That's an Attica, I guess.
This is, yeah.
Going through Attica. Yeah. K4. Out Ebenezer, somewhere around there.
Another Erie shop. I think that's an attic also.
They're all mixed around, aren't they? Pensy, Erie, and
This is
Pensy
this
and Erie.
reel that we took all the good steam stuff out of all the movies and put it on one big reel.
Yeah,
this
we
is-
never put it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, that's in Buffalo. Well, there's those interurban scenes of the Lockport cars and the Niagara Falls cars.
Yeah.
Too, would be from this
Somewhat
area.
appropriate, sure.
Appropriate, yeah. Not very much of it, but at least a few.
He's probably just going to use
Scenes.
these scenes right here, and that's probably going to be it.
Well, yeah, there's some of them are in color. Those others. There's a colored scene.
Well,
of the
yeah, the
Lockport
stuff
cars.
that you shot,
That I
especially.
shot.
Yeah.
Just one scene of a Lockport car, I think, is in color, and then there's some.
I wonder if Norbert Shapley took these, because these are old chapter movies. I don't know if Al took them.
Yeah, I don't know. Al took some.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think Norbert Shapley took these streetcar pictures.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
mean
think he took a lot of those.
He took a lot of
steam shots. Yeah.
That's probably
Because Russ used to buy him a ticket to get him and have him go on trips just to shoot movies. Because Russ owned the camera,
Yeah.
And at
Got this over.
that time, Norbert wasn't interested in railroads at all.